Hello. In this video, we're going to be looking at some applications or versions of quadratic equations on the SAT, but primarily we're going to be looking at how to recognize patterns in order to save time when we're trying to solve a problem. So, for example, if we look at this thing here, it says, if c is equal to that and d is equal to this, which of the following is equal to c squared minus d squared? Okay. The temptation is that we would have to square both of these things and then subtract them. So I would basically just do this. If I'm looking for c squared, that's, well, c is 2p plus 2q squared minus the d term, which is 2p minus 2q. And we'd square that, and then we'd have to, what would this be? And this is fine. You could do this. Mathematically, that's fine. It just would take you a while to kind of FOIL everything out. Much faster, because we're up against the clock on the SAT, is to recognize the pattern here, and that is this portion right here. This is something that is valuable to have memorized, to understand the relationship between this. This is called the difference of two squares formula, and that is just this. If you have some sort of thing like a squared minus another thing squared, that can be factored as such. That is equal to a plus b times a minus b. So we have that pattern, so really all we have to do is just figure out what's c plus d, right, for this one, and then times that times c minus d. So and this should probably be a lot easier to do. If I do c plus d, let's see what would that look like. What's that? 2p plus 2q plus 2p minus 2q, well, see, the q's cancel out, and we're left with 4p. Okay? And using the same logic for the second term, if we're subtracting these things, that gets us to 2p plus 2q minus all of this, right? So that'd be minus 2p minus negative 2q. But remember, if we have a double negative, that just ends up becoming a big fat positive. So what we have is here, the p's in this case are going to cancel out, and we have 2q plus 2q. That's going to be equal to 4q. Very good. And then finally, we would just multiply those two things together, right, because we figured that out. We figured this out, multiply them, and that gets us to 16pq. And that's our answer. Okay? Again, the takeaway here is recognizing the pattern that we could split that up, a complicated looking function, into something a little easier, and then plug your stuff in and solve for it. It looks like, I don't know why the letter B is not there, but whatever. So the answer is B, 16pq. Okay? On that note, let's try this one. Same sort of deal. We have A is equal to this thing here, and B is equal to that thing here, and they're asking us to plug in and solve for that. Well, if we were literally going to be plugging these fractions into these numbers, this could take us all day. So, we recognize the pattern. If we have something a squared minus 2ab plus something b squared, make a note of this one as well. This pattern goes like this. That's just going to be a minus b times a minus b. In other words, it is just a minus b squared. Again, the pattern is going to be, we've got a 1, negative 2. Well, this squared, so both of these terms here are squared, and we have a negative 2 in the middle. It's going to be this one. Check me. You could just do kind of a reverse FOIL. In fact, expand this out. Actually, no, it's the other way around. This would be the FOIL, right? The other one was reverse FOIL. Never mind. I'm confusing myself now. Okay, but anyway, so this is the pattern that we have. Well, that should hopefully make things a little bit easier to deal with. We just have to figure out what is this term here, these fractions, minus that thing. So let's set this up. That would be, so we're going to solve for a minus b. Well, a is this. That's u over v minus wx. And all of that minus the entire b expression, which is this. And so we can write that. We can distribute the negative across, right? Because it's minus the, both of those terms. So that gets us to, it's u over v minus w over x minus u over v minus w over x. Okay, so let's see. We can clean this up. Well, it looks like the uv terms cancel out, and it looks like we're left with we got negative 2 of these, so it's negative 2 w over x. Okay, now we're almost done. Be very careful, because look, there's a trap question here. C, or a trap answer, C gives us negative 2w over x. But we're not done, right? Because remember what you're supposed to do. If we are factoring this thing out, we solve for a minus b, but we're supposed to square it. So last step is, let's square that. Let's see what we end up with. Well, negative 2 squared is positive 4, right? Because negative 2 times negative 2 is 4. W squared is, well, just w squared. And x squared is x squared. So our answer choice is D. Hopefully that made sense. Okay. This video is running a little bit long. I'm going to pause here, and we'll look at some more problems in a moment.